So you have folks like Gillie from Wallow and Gillie's podcast, great podcast, by the way, speaking about it. He's sitting up there, why are you calling the league office? Yo, dude, that's my job. We all saw it. What do you mean snitching? What you talking about?
Okay, so in today's video, we got Stephen A. Smith responded back to the backlash that he's been receiving. People like Jalen Rose, Stephen Jackson, Gillie the Kid, and a few other people were calling out Stephen A. Smith. And of course, social media went crazy on Stephen A. Smith as well because he went viral for this take.
Russell Westbrook.
Inexcusable behavior. That's what I saw. And I don't know why this isn't being talked about enough, to be quite honest with you. I was of the mindset that Russell Westbrook deserved to be suspended for today's game. That's how appalling his game was. Now, I've been raving about Russell Westbrook since he arrived in Los Angeles. He's been a godsend for the Clippers as far as I'm concerned. He's an energizer bunny. But what he did the last game, I want y'all to go back and reflect on what transpired in game 3. Look at this foul right here. You knock the guy clear upside the head. You sit up there and you come down on Luka Dončić in the back. That play right there, you could have separated his shoulder. Then you push him in the chest. Then you go after PJ. And then after that, even though PJ shoved you in the back, and then you're shrugging off the referee. I felt so serious about this, fellas. I called the league office. And I said, I need an explanation. Tell me why Russell Westbrook wasn't suspended. And I was told that the the officials gave their report. And every indication in writing that they provided said, we handled this. He got a couple of technicals, plus a flagrant one, plus he was ejected, plus no one was injured. So we took all of those things into consideration. That's why we didn't suspend him. And I stood down. I said, that makes total sense. I'm glad. But they said, if it had been the regular season, the likelihood is that they might have had a different decision. But it's the playoffs, and because of how important it is, you can't just do that. But Russell Westbrook, mad love and respect to him most times. I was so disappointed in the way that he played the other day. Kawhi Leonard is hurt. Paul George and him combined for 16 points. They're averaging 29 points per game together. You're needed, and you acting like that? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Why would you call the league office? You don't work for the NBA?
Every indication in writing that they provided said, we handled this. He got a couple of technicals.
So you trying to get niggas
He was ejected.
suspended for a game? You don't work for the league, nigga. You work for ESPN. Fuck you calling the league for? Steve, I fuck with you, but that's some Rizzy shit, Steve.
It's the playoffs, and because of how important it is,
You starting to look like a little Rizzy, man. Don't fucking do that. So, but you called up the league office to find out why he ain't get suspended. Let them people do their fucking job. You doing their job for them for? And none of y'all ain't say shit.
I agree with everything that you said. I got the Dallas, I got the MAVS in 6, and this is what Dončić does.
Oh, Kendrick, you out of pocket. He called the league office up. None of you niggas don't work for the NBA. Fuck y'all calling the league up for?
Stephen A. Smith publicly admitted that he had snitched on Russell Westbrook. Jalen Rose came out and said this. Jalen Rose said, since day one, I'm so grateful that I choose to put on for my culture, ride or die versus being a media coon. It doesn't pay as much or always get historic views, but living in and having my hometown on my driver's license is undefeated, blessed. So Jalen Rose had put that out amidst when Stephen A. Smith was facing some backlash. So everybody just thinks that Jalen Rose is talking about Stephen A. Stephen Jackson also chimed in on it as well, and he called out Stephen A. Smith. Let's check out what Stephen Jackson had to say.
Like, we got respect for them, you know what I'm saying? But like, they just do too much shit, bro. You don't even work in for the NBA. Then you gonna call them and ask why somebody is suspended? So that got me thinking, like, all the shit you said about me when we was in the brawl, that you volunteer say I should be suspended, but like, it's crazy, bro. That has nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, people be thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like, people be hating. Nah, we allowed to disagree, and as players, we don't understand that type of shit. Like, you a reporter on sports. You talk about sports. What make you think you got the power to call the league and see why I'm not suspended? Your job is to talk about the game. That shit was crazy to me, dog.
Okay, so that's what Stephen Jackson had to say, and I showed you guys Gillie the Kid's response after the Stephen A. Smith clip publicly admitting that he had snitched on Russell Westbrook, trying to get him suspended from the NBA. So now Stephen A. Smith went on his podcast and he had came back and he had to explain the reason why he snitched on Russell Westbrook. So I would like to highlight that in today's video as well. So be sure to hit that like button if you haven't for me already. That really does help support my YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Let's check out what Stephen A. Smith had to say in response to everybody, man. Here's a clip right here.
I made some news over the weekend because I was doing an NBA countdown on ABC and ESPN. And one of the things that I said after watching the Los Angeles Clippers lose to the Dallas Mavericks Friday night, I said that Russell Westbrook was awful in terms of the way he acted. He nearly clotheslined one player flying in for a layup. He knocked Luka Dončić to the ground on a couple of occasions. One time when Luka Dončić was driving by him, he grabbed him and yanked at him. Who knows, he could have separated his shoulder. And Luka Dončić got in his face like, what you doing? He pushed Luka Dončić off. Then when he did that, he got pushed in the back by P.J. Washington. And then he turns around and the charge after P.J. Washington and pushes him in the chest. He's shrugging off officials. You can't act like that. Now, I've been one who has been complimentary about Russell Westbrook since he arrived with the Clippers. It was an awful experience with the Los Angeles Lakers. There's no doubt about that, but he was not awful with the Houston Rockets. He was not awful with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was awful with the Los Angeles Lakers, but he has been the Energizer Bunny and everything that the Clippers need. No doubt about it. But Friday's Game 3, what's the belligerence all about? Where are you coming from? Other than the fact that Luka and Dallas was whipping their ass. Now, when Russell Westbrook clothesline, not clothesline because he did go for the ball, but he did knock the guy upside the head and acting like he didn't touch the guy. That's ridiculous. You hit his head, not the ball. But the point is, one could argue that wasn't intentional. But then when you want to be demonstrative about it, deny it, and then flex with everybody else, usually you're getting teed up for that. In some cases, that would have been a flagrant 2, if not a flagrant 1. It definitely was a flagrant 2 when you did that to Luka. It should have been. And when you're sitting up there and you're acting like that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't enough for him to get ejected. He should have been suspended for the next game. I still stand by that. But once again, people take my words and they do what they want with it. I sat up there and said he deserved to be suspended. I still stand by that. I said I even called the league office to inquire about, why didn't you suspend him? I didn't call the league office to sit up there and say, suspend him now, get him suspended. No, once the decision came that he wasn't suspended, I'm like, wait a minute. You've been preaching about these rules and regulations, and if you did X, Y, and Z, you're going to get suspended. Could you explain to me why you didn't suspend him? I want the thinking behind that. You can call the league office and ask for yourself. So you have folks like Gillie from Wallow and Gillie's podcast, great podcast, by the way, speaking about it. He's sitting up there, why are you calling the league office? Yo, dude, that's my job. You talk about it. I cover it. Whether it's the commissioner, it's the executive VP, it's the disciplinary czar, it's PR or whatever, people who cover the league speak to the NBA office every week about decisions they make. And I happen to have the kind of access that allowed me to pick up the phone and call and say, why was this not a suspension? I don't have a problem with it being, even though I would have suspended him, I don't have a problem with him not being suspended because I want all hands on deck if you're playing in the postseason. Hell yeah, I don't want any excuses. But if you're going to say that you're going to suspend somebody and then you didn't over such transgressions, not only do I have a right to inquire, I have an obligation.
Okay, that's what Stephen A. Smith had to say on his podcast. Me personally, I don't care what he has to say about it. The real him was what we saw on ESPN. It's just crazy, man. Stephen A. Smith shows us his true character time and time again. And he was just recently facing some backlash not too long ago because he was comparing black people and Trump, saying that black people should be able to relate to Trump. So on top of all of that, this dude has the nerve to come out days after that to say that he called the NBA on Westbrook to question why he wasn't suspended. I would love to hear y'all thoughts about today's video, guys. So be sure to hit that like button if you made this far in the video. That really does help support my YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new or if you've already been around here, man. Make sure you're already subscribed. Comment down new sub if you're a new sub. Catch you guys on the next video. And we out, guys. Peace.